I'm often asked, what is the secret of longevity? And there are many secrets, but there are two approaches to it. The first approach is to look at books and textbooks and molecular biology and, look at the boring stuff. The second approach is to go ask someone if they're aging well on how they did it. And today we're going to look at the second approach because I have someone very special on the show. My guest on the show today is a former lawyer, but his profile is super interesting because he is an athlete. He is the father of four children and he has five grandchildren. And he is 63 young, 63 years young. My guest on the show today is Mr. Urs Kraft. Urs, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to have you. And we met at the World Biohack Summit where, I think we got into a conversation around biohacking. And later that day, I heard you having a conversation and I heard you say you're 63. And I was like, this guy looks like 43. So I guess you get this quite a lot.
This is actually the reason why I'm talking to you right now, why you want to talk to me right now. That is why I started to post some content on social media, why I got more and more interested in actually the theory about biohacking. Because I was asked, what is your secret? What is your secret? So I have to go back about my story. I was all the time interested in sports, but not to the extent right now, not with the knowledge how important it is to do sports, but I just like to do it. But I remember I had on my bucket list to go for one marathon. So I did that when I was turning 40 years old. In order to not injure myself, I got prepared pretty well. So I trained for 3 months. I changed my nutrition to have it really, really lots of carbs. I could see how my body shrank. I mean, I lost all my muscles almost. I mean, the visual ones at least. I got all the energy from my training. I made a good time. I mean, 3 hours and 43 minutes, and I felt fine
That's
after
amazing.
that. And then realizing how much you change your body by the nutrition, I really got interested in nutrition. So I started to pay attention. So I really lowered my carbs and I paid more, let's say, interest in the workout, why, and what's the result about it. That's in a nutshell.
Hmm. Well, that's cool because first of all, marathon. Everyone who I've spoken to about marathons, they mostly get injured. Actually, there is a good statistics out there that 70% of the people who actually train for long marathons they actually get injured because training for a marathon involves lots of running, which involves lots of putting pressure on your joints. And we tend to think our joints are really good. And for most of us, they are. But if you don't train well and if you don't train with the right technique, then chances are your joint, your cartilage in the next 10 years will get injured. But you were quite young when you started it. So I think that's one of the things that, um, you know, kept you safe.
Well, what can I say? Is 40 years young? Is it not young? I don't know. I mean, looking back the way I feel now, of course, it feels like I was young, but I
Hmm.
felt actually older than I feel
Hmm.
now. So I feel younger than when I was 40. But we all know that running is not healthy. I mean, running a marathon is not healthy. I mean, this asymmetric movement is not, our body's not made for that. But I wanted to experience this wall everybody talks about after 35 kilometers. It's like a wall, like in a dream, in a nightmare. You cannot walk even though you need to go, and you cannot just move your legs. This I wanted to experience, and this I want to see, how do I cope with it? How can I ask my brain, my mind, to force me to finish to the
Hmm.
finisher line? And that was the experience I was wanted to experience, and it
Yeah,
was
you
really
got
that.
to it.
It was like, oh yeah, yeah, I did
Okay.
I suffered, I
So that's
suffered.
like pure suffering. So you
It
were
is
asking for
absolutely,
suffering.
oh my god, it is for me, it was at least,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's funny is I used to live in Qatar a few years ago and I was there for a short time. And in one of the days, I I was working out quite a lot, like weight training, but then I decided to change it a little bit. So there is a corniche there, and I decided to go for a run. For some reason, I decided to go for a run, and I was like, okay, let me try to do 3 kilometers. I could do it easily. I was fit as well. So I did 3 kilometers. Then I said, okay, let me do five. And then when did five, I said, let me do 10. And I was all on this runner's high, which I haven't experienced before. And then I'm at 10. Now I started suffering a little bit, but I was like, let me push it to 15. And then there was a point that, for some stupid reason, my brain told me, what if you could do a half marathon? And I remember on 22 kilometers, like I wanted to do 24, and the last 2 kilometers for me were crazy. By the time I finished, my legs started paining. I started shaking. I think I couldn't move properly for the next 3 to 4 days. It took me that long to recover. But in the moment, because I was in the zone by itself, with no additional motivation, I was just listening to motivating songs, and the
Yeah,
music was
yeah.
pumping. I think I had some caffeine before, so dopamine was on the rise. And yeah, I made it. But after that, I did not run so much. I do sprint though. What's your thoughts on sprinting?
Well, I mean, if you prepare everything, I mean, whatever you do in sport is good, but you need to prepare. So, I mean, just coming back to my experience, I prepared well. And my former wife, my first wife, she asked me, "Was you are an extreme guy, so you need to consult a medicine before you do that, otherwise you're gonna be crippled." And so I went to the doctor and said, "Yes, I want to make this marathon. I want to have a good time, but I don't want to suffer
Hmm.
for days afterwards. So how shall I train?" So he told me that you go 5 times running, 3 times 1 hour, 2 times 2 hours, and you need that kind of nutrition and stretching and things like that. So I did all that. I felt really well, and he forced me, when you start everybody's running like that, you don't. You have your pulse monitor, you take your
Hmm.
heart rate, you don't exceed that for the first 5-10 minutes, and then you start running. Otherwise you destroy all the chemistry in your body. So you have to follow a lot of steps by doing that.
Hmm.
So the same I count for the sprinting. If you prepare your warm up, your muscles are ready for that, and of course it is fun. Whatever you do, you should
Hmm.
do it well prepared.
So, what are the kind of sports that you do now? So, you transition from going into the marathon, and now I see a lot of your content in the gym, working out, trying to do handstands and inversions. So, tell me about this shift from going and exploring the world of marathons to where you are right now.
So any sports I have access to, I like. So back in Switzerland, I was water skiing, I was wakeboarding, I was surfing, I was water skiing a lot, I was cycling, I was playing tennis, squash. What else? Kite surfing. I was when I was traveling. So whatever I have access to, I like to do
Hmm.
that. Now here in Dubai, um, I started to work out, I mean more intense, and I realized that I really make big progress because I had the time and I took it serious. So it was, I remember that day, it was exactly 227 days before me turning 60 years old.
Hmm.
So I told to my PT, listen, in 227 days, I turned 60 and I want to have my best body ever. You tell me what to do and I will do it.
Hmm.
So we analyzed that. We looked at the nutrition again. We optimized it a bit, and I take the training serious. I'm not there for socializing. I'm there for training, and I can say that I never felt fitter, never felt better. And now, being 63, I even feel better, and I believe I look better than when I was 60.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. You look great. If people are looking at this on the camera, then of course they can see this. And people who are hearing this, after this, you can look at the show notes. I'll put his Instagram profile and then you can have a look at him. But, you know, a lot of people will start this sort of a training when they're young. And for most people who are at that age, which is around 60 or even 50, they're dis or they're mentally discouraged to start training because they think it's too late. Do you hear about this with your friends or colleagues or anyone that you know?
Well, our circle of friends is of course younger than me. My second wife is around 40 years old. So yes, there's a difference in age, and our friends are around 40s. But still, I'm happy to say I could encourage quite some of them to become more active. They realized, yes, they are 20 years younger, but they're much less fit.
Hmm.
They're quite often feeling not well. They don't feel so fit doing playing with the kids. I mean, a lot of things they envy me for that. So they started even to give me the names like Peter Pan, you know,
Hmm.
the fictional character who never ages, and they start asking me, so what's the secret? No, so yes, people in any ages and at any ages they feel like either I have time to do that,
Hmm.
I'm too young, I don't need to start it now, or then they feel, oh, now I'm too old. Yes, to do this. And I believe with everything you do, you need to know why you do that.
Mhm.
You shouldn't do it because you want to have a bikini fitting nicely. That's good for the motivation maybe, but it will not give you the consistency. You have to find a purpose why you do that. And I found it. I mean, the drive on days when I feel like not working out, and there's a lot of days where I don't feel like working out, of course, because it's no fun. You know, it's hard.
Mhm.
But one's my two kids. So I also want my small kids to be proud of the father and not ashamed of the old father. That's number one. And number two, now I realize I start to encourage a lot of people. You know, people in a coffee, they come to me and say, "Oh, I know you from TikTok. You're so encouraging because of you, I go to the gym." So I know I do something good. And I
Mhm.
know it's the right way to do it. Science nowadays proves it. Biohacking science knows it. It is needed to hit the gym. So that's giving me the drive to go on and go on and go
What's
on.
your personal purpose apart from being a example in front of your kids and your kids appreciating? Is there something else that really drives you?
It's the satisfaction, you know. I mean, there's nothing as rewarding than realizing what you do is the right thing.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of the times people get discouraged from working out, and one of the missing factors is always an intention and purpose. So you were right. A lot of people would say that I want to get into the bikini body, or I just want to lose a little bit of weight because my wife wants me to do it. But there is no intrinsic motivation to do something. And most of us are, they say we are teleological beings, which means we often look for targets to achieve in our life. And we know from neuroscience as well that every time we accomplish a target, or let's say you wanted to, in my head, for example, I wanted to run 3 kilometers first, and that was good. And then that gave me the motivation to run 5 kilometers. So what I'm saying is every time you have a small checkbox and you check it, whether it's getting more fit or making sure you're putting on a little bit of muscle or running a little bit faster, that increases internal motivation. But what happens is when people don't start off with a target, a goal, or an intrinsic driver, then they never get to that motivation level and then it back spirals. So going to the gym or working out or making healthier choices becomes more of a chore than pleasure.
Right, right, absolutely. You know, back in my days as a lawyer, I mean, I was, let's say, not a typical lawyer. As
You are the cool one.
well, for those who like me, yes. For others, maybe not. No. So when the client came to listen, Mr. Kraft also would like you to do that and that. I first try to analyze actually his problems and also his emotional problem to the case. I mean, going to the court and fighting, this is a lot of energy. It's a lot of stress. So I said, listen, you're ready to do that? Is it the price you're willing to pay, or is
Mhm.
it more you want to achieve it? So you have to analyze why you do something. What is it worth to you? And the other day, I read a speech from Novak Djokovic. I really liked it a lot. He was asked why he is not refusing so heavily the vaccination. I don't say it's good or bad to take the vaccination, but what he said is the right, or let's say to make the decision about your body, is not worth to be compromised by any reward, by any price, by any victory. And this is exactly what we should do. We should realize how much the body is worth to us and not compromise it with wrong decisions, with short time goals. That's not what we're born for.
What is one of the wrong decisions that you think people often make?
That they have time to do it tomorrow.
Mhm. So this is the classical example when maybe work is overwhelming and people want to think of making more money and they sacrifice some of their personal time which they could put into their health or their wellness or their sleep perhaps, and then they keep it on for some other day. And then what happens is after some days, one day becomes 10 days, becomes 1 week, becomes a year, 10 years, and then people start getting sick. and
Actually, right,
and have
right.
you seen, because one of the other reasons why I want to have this conversation with you is because you are defying the status quo. And in my perception, we need more and more people like you to be out there, because one of the other things that we're actually missing out on this world is elder wisdom. Because every time someone reaches 60 or 70, most of the times we shut them up, or we put them in a old age home, or we just ignore them because they're not, the younger people would say, they're not in this generation, so they don't know how to do it. But having those people be there in from different generations, it gives another added advantage, because all throughout life most human beings have been living in tribes, and in tribes there was always that elder person who would guide them, because chances are he's done the same thing before and he knows which way to go. So that's why I think it's so important for people like yourselves in the health or wellness. Health and wellness is just one parameter of it, but just being out there and sharing your experience. um, have you had personal friends or family who have sacrificed a lot of their health for something else, and then they, at a later stage, they realize now it's too late, or I should have not done that before?
Luckily not. I didn't realize in my friends or family, the circle, somebody who said, "Well, it's too late."
Mhm.
So it's never too late. That's
Okay.
number one. I mean, there's all the time. I mean, a possibility to improve. So you don't say it's too late. Of course, earlier is better,
Hmm.
but never is certainly the
Hmm.
wrong way. So I mean, I've even my daughter. I mean, at the time after she gave birth to children, and so she called me from Switzerland and she said, I mean, I don't feel like really happy in my body. What can I do? So I felt so proud. I felt so proud when my grown-up daughter calls me
Mm.
up here in Dubai and asked me for advice. I gave her advice, what she could do. She did it, and she's all happy now, and she's doing it with a great discipline. Among my friends here in Dubai, I all the time encourage people, I mean, slow down with the drinking. I mean, yes,
Mm.
enjoy the alcohol if you feel like it, but set it a limit. You're not going to be happy with 5 glasses. I mean, 2 glasses will maximum do it, and go and work out. Go and work out.
Do you consume alcohol?
Very barely. I mean, I back in the days, I loved good red wine. I still do,
Hmm.
but I only consume red wine, a good red wine, when it's worthwhile the sin.
Hmm.
I think we should not live in a life where you say no to all the things you appreciate, but you have to understand the effect of consuming it.
Hmm. And how does alcohol affect you now?
Well, it is like this. I mean, being so cautious about my nutrition, I
Hmm.
mean, the demand on high quality has been increasing. So the chances that I get this kind of quality served is so small, so I hardly drink any alcohol anymore.
Amazing. Okay, so here's another tip, guys. Just increase your standards so much that you'll hardly find one of those exciting alcohols. Okay, so we refer to your workout. Let's break your day down, because I want to get to know more on how you live your day, because how we live our day is how we live our lives. And oftentimes, the way people live their days have enough bite sized nuggets that most of the people can take as inspirations and then implement that. So tell me, how does a day in Mr. Ur's life looks like first thing in the morning?
So I'm a kind of an early bird. So the latest I get up is at 6 o'clock. Then I jump to the pool, as I said, for my breathing exercise. I would say, as long as I could take cold showers outside, I did outside. Now I have my cold bath inside, so I go in the
Hmm.
bath just a few seconds. Not for the ice bath effect, because that's compromising my effort with my gym. We can
Hmm.
talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, but just to boost my dopamine, as we do
Hmm.
know, I mean, being exposed to an uncomfortable situation for more than 30 seconds, that is boosting your dopamine level for at least 4 to 6 hours, and I like that to happen. So I do this, then I make my stretching, which is amazing. I mean, this yoga stretching. I mean, I hated yoga. I said, this is I cannot do this. I mean, this is kind
Hmm.
of silly. This Om stuff and all that
Hmm.
stuff, and now, I mean, I'm the biggest fan of it. I mean, it changed my life. I got so more
I have a similar
authentic.
story.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I do this, and after that, I get my coffee, my black coffee. My kids by then are get up. They get their breakfast. I watch them having a breakfast. I talk to them, drink my coffee, then I drive them to school, which I love to do.
Hmm.
So we have a good conversation, a startup. I try to prepare them for the school to be positive. I try to feel out how they slept, how the situation is. Then I get home. I get my second coffee. I love coffee.
Hmm.
And then, depending on the day, If it's a no gym day, then I start working immediately. I take a break, being on the cycle or making some cardio, not crazy cardio. I
Mhm.
try to make hit from time to time.
In the gym or
At
in your
home,
house?
at
Okay.
home, at home. Sometimes I go to the gym, but I find it. I mean, it's like you have a way to go there. You mean, and I rather do 10 minutes more at home
Mhm.
than spending 10 minutes to go there, as I do not need to socialize with other people. I mean,
So
I'm a,
when you say you're doing hit, you're jumping on a bike and you're doing like a Tabata kind of a set, or
I have my bike on a roll and I put it just on a maximum, let's say, steepness.
yeah.
So I really, really have to do that with the most effort. I go to the maximum of watts I can do. So I try to look at my heart rate, and as soon as I reach my top heart rate, I'm done. So they can be done within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't take much more.
Mhm.
And then when I make longer cardio, as we talk about that, then that's going to be in the evening before dinner. I sit on a bike again. I listen to podcasts. I love podcasts.
Mhm.
I learn a lot from podcasts. So I do this, and that's the way I do cardio. After this morning, I start to think about lunch
Mhm.
because by then I slowly get hungry
Mhm.
because at 12 o'clock is my first intake of nutrition. I concentrate a lot of having proteins, vegetables, and good carbs.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there's not so many good carbs, which are really good.
What are your favorite carbs?
My favorite are sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Sweet potatoes, easy to make all the time, very cheap to do, and the effect on for the body is, I would say, by the best.
Mhm.
So after preparing and enjoying the lunch, what they do now, um, if it's not too late, I will guess I get my other coffee again.
Mhm. So this is the third coffee for the day.
Yeah, which I reduced. I mean, before being, let's say, into the knowledge of what is good and bad, just doing it by occasionally, I had up to 20 coffees a day,
20 coffees per day. Wow.
and it was just normal for me. It was just. I mean,
So you're one of those fast coffee metabolizers.
it was just insane. When I talk to people that I had 20 coffees a day and it felt just like having another coffee before going to bed, you're insane.
Yeah. So what happens is there there are mostly two sort of people that we can define who have certain liver enzymes or certain liver genes. These are called CYP A12 genes. And what happens is some people, like yourself, can have coffee and they metabolize coffee so fast in those livers, those enzymes are very active. So that's why you can have a coffee and go to sleep, or 20 cups of coffee doesn't do much for you because it just gets burned very fast. And then there are some people who have slow metabolizing genes, myself included. And for us, we might be able to have a lot of coffee, but after the fourth or fifth, it just gives us jitters. And we don't have the same effect of having coffee before sleeping because that's going to keep us awake. It takes much more time for the coffee to leave our body because those enzymes are much
Right,
slower.
right.
Interesting.
Still, I reduced it just to explore how do I react. Is my sleep going to be different? Because there's, as we do know, certain hormones are built. I mean, at different times of the days. So I wanted to explore that, and I do believe I sleep better
Mhm.
having, let's say, the last coffee around.
Are you using the Apple Watch to monitor sleep or something else?
I don't wear it. I
Okay.
don't wear it. I try not to wear anything when I sleep. I don't like to use tools too much
Mhm.
because then you get a, let's say, a victim of the tools, because then you start to please the numbers,
Yep.
and you look at the watch and say, oh, you feel actually good before you looked at the watch, but the
But your
watch
day is
tells
going to
you
get
the
horrible.
watch tells you you didn't sleep well, so you didn't sleep well if you don't feel like that before you looked at the watch. So I don't like that to happen.
Mhm.
So at times you do this just to be cautious. I mean, curious. So, but I don't not on a regular basis. No.
Okay, perfect. So you had your lunch, and then what happens in the afternoon? Are you taking a nap? Are you?
No, I don't do naps. Oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot almost. I forgot almost. I mean, before I even, if the house is silent, I take my noise reduction headphones
Mhm.
and make 5 to 10 minutes meditation.
Mhm.
This I started lately. I love it. I love it. It takes much more discipline for me than going to the gym and being on a bicycle or doing yoga. This is the hardest thing to do so far.
Why is it hard? Because of just the meditation aspect, or is your mind? always talking because of the caffeine in your blood?
I don't have coffee by then, but
Okay.
it's the mind. It's a lot of things going on, a lot of going on, and I have to visualize. I mean, let's say like me sitting at the beach and seeing the wave I should hear,
Mhm.
and that helps me. Then, of course, my mind runs away, runs away, runs away, and it's super exhausting. It's really exhausting not to go back to all your thoughts you do
Mhm.
have, and to allow yourself just to take them as not important.
Mhm. Okay. And what about the evening? So, what is your typical workout time? Are you working out mostly in the evening?
No, I don't work out normally at the evening. My normal workout, I mean, the gym is in the morning.
Mhm.
In the evening, I all the time before I go to bed, I try to make at least some stretching, some combined with some breathing, just because I know it feels good. It feels good to do so. Not if a particular goal to be reached. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
it's I stopped trying to reach goals. This I think is my biggest achievement by becoming 63 now. I don't want to achieve anything, but I want to go somewhere.
And why is that? Why do you insist on not achieving anything?
You're focused on the goal and not on the way
Not
to go
journey.
there.
Okay.
That's the,
So focus on the journey, not on the goal.
absolutely. So you should not give rewards and rewards and rewards. I mean, this reward system, I think, is the most dangerous and addictive thing we developed.
Yeah, I think this is what's happening mostly on social media because the way social media is designed is to give yourself an intermittent reward, which is
Exactly.
either a like, a comment, a share, and it doesn't happen regularly. And that's how it plays with your mind because your mind is always expecting something and you don't know if it's there. So that makes it's actually a very cool neurological trick to get you addicted to something.
It
It's
is.
called intermittent reward reinforcing. And they did this in the beginning, they did this experiment with birds where they would give them a reward and after some time give them another reward and they became very predictable. But the time that they gave a reward and they were just randomly giving awards, the birds became so addictive that they would sacrifice one of their body parts in order to get that reward. And that's how they knew that
Amazing.
people can harm, they would even go up to the length of harming themselves in order to get a reward. Another study done in one of the US places was where they took a group of people in a room and they said, okay, you're going to get be off your phone for an hour. And if you want your phone, you might get an electric shock. And there are so many people who couldn't keep their phone away and they instead on getting the shock so they can get their phone. And that's crazy, right? The way our and that's also depleting a lot of dopamine from your pleasure circuits. And then also when you're getting these reward systems and they're not being met properly, then life just becomes boring because you're just so focused on one aspect of life and you're so hyper focused that you start ignoring everything else that's around. I keep telling people there's magic happening everywhere around you, but your inability to kind of look everywhere and just remain head down in your phone is the magic is disappearing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, of course, having two small boys, that you want to do it in a good way, in a way of being an example for them so they learn and try to copy that in a healthy way, is, of course, encouraging me to do so. They, of course, they are attacked by all those things like the phones, by the spoilness of other children here. And I quite often hear, but they have this, they may do that. I mean, why can I not take sweets in the
Mhm.
school? So I said, I told you like 100 times why it is not good. And my function as a dad is not to be Mr. Nice Guy.
Mm.
I have to inform you about the life. I have to prepare you for the life. And why should I give you poison as a reward?
Mhm.
Why should they give you sugary stuff as a reward? Why should they do this? I mean, if other people do so and they do wrong, or it's easy to say, yes, you can have it, and I take the sacrifice of saying no, and you might not like me for 5 or 10 minutes, I will do so.
Mhm.
I will be ready to suffer that because I really, and my wife, we take our job serious. And yes, so we try to fight the early days of dopamine in my kids.
Amazing and good job there. Actually, it takes quite a lot of willpower to say no, especially in times of stress, because it's easier to say yes.
Oh, yes. so much. I mean, so much. I mean, and the kids are smart,
Yeah.
and they come and ask when you're doing this, you're doing that. You have actually ears and five different sides, and the eyes are also somewhere around. They come to, oh, Daddy, can I have that? And you have to almost just say yes. And then, no, 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 don't trick me that. No, it's a no. Don't
Kids are
ask me that.
smart.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
do. They
know the
do.
right moment where you're the most
Absolutely,
weakest.
absolutely. So they challenge you like all the time. Yeah.
And what about your grandkids? Do they challenge you?
Unfortunately, I don't see them so often. They live
Mhm.
in Switzerland,
Okay.
so they don't challenge me.
Yet.
I look no, I look forward to see them in 1 week time. I will travel to Switzerland and see them. Yes, but I can see my daughters do a great job.
Mhm.
They have a healthy attitude to life. They encourage them to do lots of sport. Food is taken serious. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
no. I'm confident. I'm
Okay.
confident.
Okay, so let's go back to we were in the evening. And for your sleep, do you do anything special for your sleep?
So the biggest fight is to go to bed.
Mhm. What time are you going to bed?
I try latest to be at 11 o'clock in bed, but
Okay.
that's. I know it's too late
Mhm.
because I would like to sleep at 10. But you have your routine. So the kids go to bed. Let's say 8ish, and they love when I come up and tell them a story.
Mhm.
And unfortunately or fortunately, they don't want me to read. I have to create the story like all the time. Like
Oh
being
wow.
a fantasy like all the time. And they even ask you, yeah, but please make it funny, and things like that. And I remember once I was just in a super energetic mood, and I created the story about a grasshopper who experienced things like we human being do.
Mhm.
And so for one story, it was fine. So the other day, the grasshopper had to go on telling stories. But of course, grasshoppers are limited in living a life like human beings. So I
Mhm.
was really, really, let's say, challenged in being creative. But that's what they do. So yes, that takes some energy, brain energy. So I go back, let's say at 8:30, and then I'm full awake. I'm
Mhm.
full awake. Plus, I would like to do something for myself again. So I would like to read or listen to a podcast. And this time, which is my time, is too short. And I have to cut it in
Mhm.
order to say, no, okay, I mean, you have to go to sleep. It's important. You have to go to sleep. And I'm working on that. I'm not there yet,
Mhm.
but I'm working on it.
Okay, but 11 o'clock is not that bad. They say there is a second wind phenomena that comes at 11 p.m., which is if you don't get to bed by 11 p.m. for most people, then you will be awake till like 2:30 or 2 p.m. 2 a.m. Sorry. Yeah, so this is the second wind phenomena. So most of the people they try to sleep before 11, so they're able to kind of get those first cycles of deep sleep as well. Because as we progress through the night, we have first deep sleep, and then later on we have REM sleep. So sometimes you can miss out on that. Okay, perfect. So now we looked at your whole schedule. I want to I want to be a detective and kind of look and analyze some of the things that you think you're doing for longevity. Something that most people aren't, something that gives you the edge. Tell me, I know that you're exercising with oxygen. This is for sure. So you want to tell us about that?
Well, I learned about the oxygen therapy, different oxygen therapies. There's a lot, and
Mhm.
all of them they try to achieve the same thing. So you can have the ozone therapy. We can talk about that. There's the hyperbaric oxygen chambers, which are really good. Unfortunately, there's not many here in Dubai for a decent price. And then there is the training with enriched oxygen air. The effect on that is you go on a treadmill or on a bicycle, and you put up your heart rate to at least 120.
Mhm.
That gives your body under pressure,
Mhm.
which is then transporting the oxygen you enrich your body with to the whole body much faster. So like this, you can do this. And you only do that for 15 minutes. You also don't want to let toxic in your body with too much oxygen.
Mhm.
That's also a certain risk. So this I do, and that works out. So yes, I consider that being a thing
A
for to
biohack.
longevity. Yeah, the biohacking. What I like about biohacking, and shall I call myself a biohacking? Maybe yes, maybe not. What I don't like about biohacking is that too many pills are on the market already.
Mhm.
Which some of them are really good. I do take some. We can talk
Mhm.
about the pills, the supplements I take, but on the other hand, this is inviting people to be lazy.
Hmm.
They believe they can swallow longevity. This is not possible. I mean, that I would say the most important thing is not what you have in supplements. The most is what you don't take.
Hmm.
That you leave out unhealthy things. That you leave out unhealthy habits. That you live a healthy life. This is the main longevity. All the other things is let's say um,
Supplementary.
acceleration.
Yeah, it's like a
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
supplementary thing.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, take NMN, like resveratrol. I take, of course, my own supplement, the
Hmm.
toxyphylline. We can talk about that.
Yep.
And but that is just, let's say, this is just the jam on the bread.
Hmm.
It's not too essential, I would say.
Have you tried exercising with no oxygen? Because there are some recovery modalities where you put the mask on and you can change from hyperoxygenation to no oxygen or hypoxic situations. Have you ever tried that?
No, I'm actually quite interesting. I mean, a friend of mine, he just bought a machine in Spain. It's called the IHT.
Okay.
This is where you actually have a training like in an altitude training
Hmm.
and low training, and the effect should be very good. It's said science says that it has similar effects like hyperbaric chambers, and
Hmm.
for a much cheaper price, and not so time consuming.
Yes, it is. It is one of those things where you just hook up. I've been in one before where I was cycling and you put a heart, not a heart rate monitor, but a blood oxygen monitor. You do a heart rate as well and a blood oxygen, and you wait for your heart blood oxygen levels to go below 89% or 87%. And when you're 80 at 87%, there are fear circuits in your brain that turn on because they know that anything below this, you're going to pass out. And right as they turn on, and your body is constantly like looking for oxygen, you increase the oxygen. And then what happens is, and I'm sure you do this in the morning when you're going to swim, and you mentioned that you swim underwater, and it's the same effect. The carbon
Yeah.
dioxide will allow for the hemoglobin to dissociate from the red blood cells, which means higher carbon dioxide ratios in the body will allow all the hemoglobin to dump oxygen. So you have more oxygen availability. And this could be achieved by, like you said, swimming. Underwater, I sometimes do breath hold walks. So
Yep.
I'll go with my dog, and from every pole to pole, I'll just take a deep breath and then I'll exhale all of my breath out and I'll walk to the other one. And really, like, it took me a long amount of training to just walk from one pole to the other with no breath. Nearly like half within like first 10 seconds, I'm like, but now it's, yeah, it's increased. Okay, so you mentioned supplements. Tell me, what supplements are you taking?
So in the morning, I take I David Sinclair. I like a lot. I like
Hmm.
his science approach to biohacking, and not like, I mean, like Dave Asprey. It's more learning by doing and
Hmm.
trying. I mean, like he's suffering like being his own lab rat. That's always a way to do it. I like the let's say the non-emotional approach of
Hmm.
David Sinclair with the NMN, the reservoir role. This is what I take in the morning. Plus,
Is there any special brand that you're taking?
I take what's it called? Uh, Pro Health.
Pro Health. Yeah, that's supposed to be one of the good
Pro
ones. I
Health.
have their trans resveratrol.
I
That's what I
have,
take.
yes. Also have them from Pro Health. Yes.
Okay, that's good.
So that's good. I take this. Then I take taxipulline 98%,
Hmm.
and sometimes I take vitamin D. Not too often. Sometimes B complex. Also not too often. This I'm more like take once a week or something like that.
Why are you not taking vitamin D often? Do you have you got your vitamin D levels checked? Are you good?
No, I should do it. I should do it on a regular basis. But I mean, to my knowledge, what I've been researching on, there's no need for me being exposed to the sunlight like
Hmm.
as much as I am. I don't need to overdo it with the
Okay.
vitamin D. But I do it in combination with calcium. My calcium level has been realized that they're too low, so I have to
Hmm.
take some calcium. So, and the calcium intake is for the body easy to absorb in combination with vitamin D.
Hmm. There's another thing that you can add to it, if I can suggest. It's called vitamin K2. And what happens is a lot of the calcium that we have in our bodies, they can be deposited in rather than in the bone, in the arteries. And this is what is called arterial calcification. And most of the times, what a lot of newer supplements will do, they will combine vitamin D3 with K2, because when these two vitamins are digested together, then you have the calcium moves away from your arteries and goes into your bones and gets absorbed and goes into your teeth and goes into the places that it should be going. So think of vitamin K2 as a handler that takes calcium and puts it in the right places, because a lot of people in the world, they will be eating a lot of calcium, but not a lot of those calcium is getting deposited into their bones, and this might be one of those reasons. Okay, so vitamin D, you do calcium. What else?
The taxoline, the pills I take, this is
Yes,
combined.
talk to us about that.
This is so white taxoline. This is. I mean, this is actually the reason why I'm into biohacking. I
Hmm.
mean, from a science perspective, not just, I mean, trying to live healthy, in this way. So I'm having a company in Germany, is so content marketing, and the producer of Taxoline, he contacted this company for the marketing, and after they talked, the creative partner called me up and said, "Urs, you need to talk to this guy. I mean, this guy is just the same mind like you are,
Hmm.
So we need to talk." So we set up a call, and after 1 hour call, we said yes, we need to meet. So then, while I was in Marbella for holidays, he lives in Mallorca. We met, and we became friends, and I had some ideas what to do with tax free, and I said, "It was, I wanted to be the ambassador for tax free because you are exactly what tax free is. I mean, it is exactly what you are, where you live. That's what I want to do." So then I got more into all those supplements. And didn't take any supplements, more or less. Vitamin C, because I didn't know better,
Hmm.
but nothing else. And so now about this taxifulline. Taxifulline is the strongest natural antioxidant. We have vitamin C. There's a science list. How much is the potence of absorbing free radicals? We all
Hmm.
know we don't want to have free radicals
Hmm.
because they are free, and they do, let's say, combine in structures which can be unhealthy, can be leading to cancer, even to Alzheimer, etc., etc. So vitamin C is the potent of combining or absorbing 50 free radicals. So
Hmm.
Taxuri 98 can do 2000.
Wow, 2000. Okay.
2000. And as you know, vitamin C, if you take 1 gram, that's max you can absorb. The rest will be just digested. With the taxurine, you can take as much as you want with any side effects, and the body can absorb it. We may test up to 15,000 milligrams per day, and there's no side effects. We recommend 40 milligrams a day as being sufficient. And the benefits is, I mean, it's amazing. It's
Can you
amazing.
find this in Dubai? Because I haven't heard many people talk about taxifolding.
Not yet, not yet. There's a few places where I sell it. It's with Wolfie's Bike Store.
Hmm.
He's very, very into healthy living, so he got really hooked about that. Then in the gym I train, and online. People, they order it online. Some people, they realize the positive effect when they go out, they consume alcohol, they take taxone before and after, they have no headaches and things like
Hmm.
that. Alcohol produces free radicals.
Yep.
Killing the free radicals is going to help. But that's not the main reason why you should
Yeah, so there's
consume.
not a way to get drunk outside and take
It's
taxafoline.
not a free pass. So, but that's the thing. And I have people, they call me up. They also, I travel, and I'm out of taxi lane. I mean, I need it. I cannot travel if I have a taxi lane. And people try it. Just the other day, I had a plastic surgeon. He tried it. He liked it a lot. Then I had the sports guys. He trains with professionals in Dubai and in France. So he called me up and said, "Is there any science proven that is accepted even under the anti-doping list? Because you want to give it to the
Yeah, for
sports
the
guy."
athletes, it's
Yeah,
difficult
yeah,
to.
because it's really energizing. So we work on that. Yeah, that's actually.
Okay, interesting. So taxifoline. I'm going to take some advice from you and some literature, and I'm going to read up on taxifoline because, yeah, it's. I think I've heard about it sometime, but I've never looked into it completely.
It's also called quercetin.
Quercetin.
Yeah,
Ah, okay, yeah, okay,
it's another name for it.
yeah. That's so. It's a
And
very strong polyphenol. Yes,
yeah,
correct.
absolutely.
So I do what I do is when I make my tea, I make this super anti-aging tea, and one of the things that goes into it is quercetin.
take my pill. You don't need a tea
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. So I do the powder, I do pow the arco, I
Yeah,
do some of the other herbs
yeah.
and spices to make that. But yeah, let me experiment with yours and let's see. And if anyone has experimented with it, please let us know how you feel. Okay. So what about your nutrition? You said a couple of times that food is very important. Are you on a specific kind of diet? Are you restricting your calories? Are you eating a lot of calories? What's your approach on this nutrition side?
I never look at the numbers of calories. I try to get enough protein.
Hmm.
I hardly touch any let's say processed carbs. So there is bread. I loved bread. I really love bread,
All
but
kinds of bread or some specific breads?
I actually like white bread as well. You know,
Yeah.
so so no, I know it's not good. So I mean, is it worth eating it? No, it's
Yeah.
not so good that I should damage my body doing it. So
Hmm.
I reduce this. I mean, let's say once a month I have a
Hmm.
croissant together with my boys when I go to the kite beach. So yes, I do this.
Okay.
But I normally don't eat bread. Potatoes very very slow, and I try when I eat potatoes to cook it, cool it down, and then warm it up,
Hmm.
as this is having not the peak in
Hmm.
the blood
Yeah, it's
between
called
the
resistant starch.
exactly.
So
So
for anyone who's listening, here is a cool trick for you. Cut, even for most starches, cook your starch, cool it, and then warm it again. And there is a difference. So the biochemical pathways of the carbohydrates themselves, they change from amylose to amylopectin. And the more amylopectin you have, it basically lowers down. If I remember correctly, then resistant starch like potatoes will lower down their carbohydrate percent and their calories by 50%, because most of them goes to the resistant starch with then the gut bacteria eat. And then this also helps act like a fiber in the gut.
it's more fiber. It's more the percentage of fiber is increased, and what we try to achieve in our diet is to have, let's say, no peaks in our blood sugar. That we
Mhm,
try to achieve, and so that's why we should avoid all those kind of carbs which produce it. So that's why sugar is highly forbidden. You know,
mhm,
that's one of the reasons. And the same is with potatoes. Potatoes are actually good nutrition, but
mhm,
the peaks are not welcome. So we have to reduce those peaks. So instead of this, I love sweet potatoes. This is my
mhm.
favorite, as I said. And quinoa I take, and vegetables, kidney beans, and yeah, there's not much more.
What about meat?
I do, yeah. That was the carb section. Now we go to the protein
Okay.
section. Meat, beef. I eat birds, of course. I mean, chicken, and I love fish.
Mhm. Okay. And how much percent, if you, I know you don't count calories, but like let's look at your plate. How much percent of that is carbs? How much percent is protein? How much percent might be fat?
So I would say in grams, because I
Okay.
do not in percentage, but I try to concentrate on the minimum percent grams on protein. So I try not to have less than 120, 130 grams of protein a day.
Okay. And what's your weight?
Right now, I would say around 70.
Okay. So, okay, perfect. That's good. Because there are some recommendations out there that, so there are two things that I would like to highlight. First thing is protein is important. Everyone should be eating protein. If you're looking to build muscle, the minimum amount of protein that you need is zero point 0.8 grams per kg of body weight. And if you want to increase more, like you want to gain a little bit more, you can bump up the protein. But the other thing which I would like to highlight here is after 40, after a person turns 40, there is higher increases of something called as sarcopenia, which means you start losing a little bit of your muscle mass. But what sarcopenia also does is that it doesn't allow your body to assimilate a lot of these amino acids from protein. So what that means is as you get older, you have to pay more, even more attention in having protein because your body is not going to absorb it. Are you doing anything special for your body to absorb the protein, like digestive enzymes, or the one of the other things would be to have essential amino acids, or have these increase the hydrochloric acid in your stomach by having apple cider vinegar or something before a meal?
No, I just I try to combine it with lots of fibers.
Mhm.
The digestion of protein is sometimes heavy on digestion, so I try to combine that with good fiber food. So that's helping me and needed. Plus, some part of the protein intake I need to take by shakes,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yep.
So I try to do good shakes, which have all the list of supplements and nutrition helps, which is good. And because I rather have a shake than compromise my nutrition by having
Mhm.
some available fast food, which I know is not good for me.
Mhm. Yeah, the fast food and the processed food aren't the best. And sometimes, yeah, shake it's good because, especially, I forgot to ask you, are you doing any kind of time restricted eating or fasting or?
Yes, I do. I do,
Okay.
and I'm pretty consistent with that. It all started by chance. I heard it's good, but I could not imagine me not doing that. And so my normal breakfast was nice. I have my bread, my egg. So I normally have, when if I have egg, I have two eggs, full egg, and two white eggs, and
Mhm.
tomatoes, and the protein bread, and all that. And but it's kind of boring. You get up, you eat all the same things. So I said, no, I cannot eat it. So my trainer said, why don't you try the intermittent fasting? And I tried, and since then, I mean, I wouldn't change it ever.
How many hours are you fasting?
16 hours normally.
16 hours. Yeah. Okay. So, when you're doing time restricted eating, that means you even have a more shorter window to eat the foods. And then if you want to eat like two times uh, the amount of protein that you're eating, it becomes difficult. So, fair enough. It's good to have some of those shakes.
It's challenging at times. It's really challenging at times. Also, if you have a day, I mean, you have to go pick up your boys, those are the boys, and they're at work or meetings, and so this is needs a lot of planning. That's
Mhm.
actually the hardest thing about the time restricted eating.
A lot of the people who are listening to this show might not will have the same problem. They might not be that great in planning. Do you have any tips or advice for people for planning ahead for such things?
Well, it starts with the shopping, I would say. If you have the right food in the house, you can eat it.
Hmm.
If you don't have it, you cannot eat it. So don't have not good food in your house. Then sometimes when you cook food, I love cooking. I love
Okay.
cooking. So when I cook, I make big portions and I deep freeze it, so I can take it out and have like fast food, good
Hmm.
food. So that helps. So the planning makes it easy. And if you know your day, you're gonna do this and this and that, you have to think, do you have time to prepare cook to food? No, you're not. So that's the shake is gonna be your first food, and maybe around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, you have a nice snack, which could be, I mean, some fruits. And my snack is I make cookies for myself.
Cookies. Okay.
Cookies,
Tell us about that.
healthy cookies. Just out of an emergency, I need food. I need food, but
Hmm.
there's no time for cooking. There is no time to really eat, and you cannot buy it.
Hmm.
Everything you buy, those crunchy stuff, is full of stuff, is full of processed food. So no way.
Hmm.
So then I started looking around. What do I like, and what makes sense to eat?
Hmm.
And we have a Thermomix. Thermomix?
Hmm.
It's a cool machine. I love it. So I have dates. I throw the dates in. Then all kind of seeds and nuts. I mean, anything. I love
Like
it.
pumpkin seeds and okay.
Pumpkin and sunflower. Then sesame seed, white and black,
Also
and
good for testosterone levels.
yeah. And almonds, of course. So I get it all mixed together. I mean, cut in pieces. Then on the side, I prepare, let's say, a small shake of chocolate with no sugar,
Hmm.
or whatever flavor you like. So you mix it with this dough kind
Hmm.
of smashed things.
Consistency. Yeah.
Yes. Then I add some oats,
Hmm.
and I try to you cannot roll it. You squeeze it on a kitchen paper, on a baking
Hmm.
paper. Then you need to cover it with another baking paper, and then you come with this what is called in English, this wooden stuff rolled to
Oh yeah, we
how do you,
use it a lot in India to.
what's the name for that? I know.
You put me on spot. I don't
Okay, so I
remember.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean this wooden stick,
The wooden stick that you use to flatten things out,
exactly.
and you can roll it to
Right.
flatten.
So you really flatten that as much as you can with all your force you have. Then you put it in the oven for, I don't know, depends. I put it in 160 degrees, so keep it slow so it's not burning. Once it's so solid that you can cut it, I take it out, I cut it in pieces, then put
Hmm.
it back. So he gets the nice crustiness for that, and then have a fantastic snack.
Amazing. So the next time we meet, bring some cookies.
I will do. I will do so.
And that would be nice. Yeah, it already sounds amazing. Okay, cool. So, we we've spoken about your daily regime, we've spoken about your supplements, your nutrition, your workout strategies. Now, this has been very helpful because it's given a people a lot of insight into your life. And the more I look at it is, sometimes people are discouraged to do something because it's way too much or way too out there. But you're actually doing some of the most simple things in life, but you're just doing them so consistently and so much with your heart that it's translating into your longevity. And this is amazing. And that's one of the messages that I want to give people is that don't think all of this is very complex. Having a routine, having a schedule, having simple time management skills, just having the right kind of food available in front of you so you can make it and eat it, having a purpose, all these things are not rocket science. And chances are, if you do spend some time either with yourself or your trainer or your coach or your partner, you will be able to figure this out. Am I correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. People try to say, "Oh no, it's too complicated. I cannot do this." So first of all, nobody should ever say, "I cannot."
Hmm.
This should not exist in any vocabulary. I cannot. You cannot yet, maybe, but
Hmm.
you can do it. If you want, you can do it. And everything is there. The science is there. So again, I love the biohacking ideas, but on the other hand, it might shock some people to go into this. Oh no, this is some high tech
Hmm.
healthy stuff now. I cannot do this. So I rather be unhealthy, because this I
Exactly.
understand. So no, it's not that it's not there. It is there. And the good thing, I mean, actually, longevity is and the healthy approach of biohacking is combining all the knowledge, the science knowledge, and all the knowledge back in the days for 1,000 years back, particularly from Asia,
Hmm.
including all this knowledge. I mean, when you talk about biohacking, I mean, we talked about the food, about the workout, the supplements. But I mean, we also talked about yoga
Hmm.
and the meditation. This is an important part. It's very, very important because that gives you actually mental strength to do all what is needed to feed the body with the nutrition and with the heavy workout. So all that, the
And also
combination,
stress in life. That's
absolutely.
that's a big one, right?
Yeah, I mean, and particularly ladies should listen to this. I mean, quite often at parties, they come to, oh, what shall I do? My tights are still so. What can I do? So of course you tell about food, but also say, do you have stress? Yes, I'm
Hmm.
also stressed all the time. All the time stressed. I'm all the time stressed. So then start with yoga.
Hmm.
You don't burn fat when you're under stress. Stress is stopping burning fat.
Hmm.
So if you can go for a walk, if it's a warm, then make yoga. Just
Hmm.
yoga or meditation. 1 hour of yoga is burning more fat than running around.
Hmm. Apart from yoga, do you have any other stress management strategies that you have had in your personal life or something that you've heard of?
I Having children
It's stressful
is stressful,
in the beginning,
and no, it is all the time
all the
stressful,
time.
of
Okay.
course, but it gives you a chance to learn to cope with it
Hmm.
because you don't achieve it, and you see all the mistakes you do, you get mirrored by your kids.
Hmm.
So if you see a behavior using that's the wrong way to do it, and say, oh my god, that's me. So yes, they show you how to cope with the stress, and you put yourself under stress, you put the children under stress, it backfires. So that's helping me a lot. That's my personal experience,
Okay.
and I try not to be loud,
Hmm.
even you're stressed, when you're on the time and kids don't listen, So I rather do it in such a way that I say, listen, guys, you might not listen, but maybe you hear, but you will feel the consequences of not listening. And but it takes so much energy.
Hmm.
It takes energy, but it is the same time. It's de-stressing me.
Okay, amazing. I heard today or maybe yesterday, that if you're really angry, then count from 10 to 1. And chances are, no, if you're angry, count from 10 to 1. And if you're really angry, then count from 100 to 1. And what that does is allows you time to kind of make more, because when you're stressed, then chances are the logical centers of your brain aren't getting activated, and that's your prefrontal cortex. And when you do some sort of a logical math or counting, that drives more blood into the frontal areas of your brain, which then can help you look at the logical aspect
Right.
that, hey, right now, if you scream or you throw things, like it's not going to work.
It's
But
not.
in the moment, all of your blood flow or like the energy resources in your brain are in your amygdala, which is the emotional center of your brain, which is faster to access than the logical centers of your brain. So I interviewed a cognitive scientist from Amsterdam called Kevin, and he told me that anger most of the times will last you for about 3.5 minutes. So if you're angry, don't react to anything for the first 3.5 minutes, and that will give you enough time. And I assume that's because of the brain resources going to the prefrontal cortex.
Makes
Um,
sense. Yeah?
Another thing that I'd like your opinion on is actually two things. Today, I've been engaging in some conversations, and this thing is coming up again and again that things people are just very busy these days. You talk to the Uber driver and he's going to tell you he's very busy, and you talk to the mom, she's going to tell you she's very busy. Today I was with a principal of a school, and they're opening up a new school, and he's like, hey man, we're just so busy, everything's happening. And then I know in my life I'm very busy as well, but then I look at everyone around me and everyone is busy. How is this being busy changed over the years? Because you have the last 63 years, or at least 50
does.
years something to tell us.
No, I mean that's a sad thing about technology. It gets worse and worse. Everything we have, those aids to help us, they slave us. They really slave us. I mean, it started back in the days. Some people who listen may remember that there were telex. I mean, maybe you have to Google up what telex
Mhm.
is actually.
Most
So
young people will not
they
know
will
what
not
that
know
is.
it's not a magic word. It's what a tech tool. So telex, but you didn't need to reply immediately. You
Mhm.
had 2 days, 3 days. So then we had email. Now you have to be very fast. Then you have now the social media, all those communication skills with
Messenger.
WhatsApp, absolutely super fast. And now the worst thing, we have AI.
Oh yeah.
AI. So I mean, if nobody knows that, no, somebody doesn't know the answer, so go AI. And if you cannot reply within seconds, you haven't controlled AI. So everything is faster and faster and faster. And the problem is, we are not so fast. We are not so fast as the machines. We need time. We need time, and we also need emotional time. And we don't have time for our emotions. We don't live our life.
Mhm.
And this is my fear. So get off all the technical tools, get off all this stuff, and just sit down, have an interesting talk with
Mhm.
some interesting people. You learn. You learn much more than looking at the screen.
Okay. And how do you manage your emotions? Do you have any hacks or tools?
Well, for me, the shift from being, let's say, not not grounded is in the morning. After my stretching, I make my headstand.
Mhm.
After 2 minute headstand, you're a different person, and
Okay.
that lasts for very long time. Yes,
Oh, amazing. So you're
headstand.
doing
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
you're doing the headstand, you're doing the cold plunge. So both of this might be giving you like
Oh yeah, that's
extra edge. Okay, great. If you had a time machine and you can go back in time and give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would that be?
try to find out what you're passionate about,
Okay. Try to find out what you're passionate about and then go in that
and
direction.
then do it, and then do it. And don't don't allow other people to tell you what you need to do.
Hmm.
I mean this, and it's even worse nowadays. And the pressure on
AI is telling you what to do.
everybody's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And you need to be so smart in so many things. That you not even have time to find out what you're good in.
Hmm. You're just trying to impress everyone else,
Yeah.
right? It's like a social thing as well. Okay. So, anyone who's listening, here is a advice from a person who lives and looks like half his age or even lesser. So take that seriously. Look what you're passionate about, explore it, and then don't let the world tell you what to do. Do what you can take some advice, but do what you really feel like doing because that's going to get you that passion, the drive, the motivation to excel in whatever you're doing. And we know from studies that the longest lived people on this planet also live with a purpose, with an intention, and whatever they do makes them less stressed. So if you're living a life where you're doing something and you don't like it and you hate it, that's going to create more free radicals. Then you have to call them for taxophylline. But
Do it. Get stressed.
No, but yeah, Urs, this has been a fantastic interview. I am so happy. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, your presence, and your experience, which I really appreciate.
Thank you too much. Great
Amazing.
pleasure. Great pleasure. Thank you.
And this is me, your host, CJ, signing out from the Shift with CJ podcast. Everyone, have a great day, a great week, a great lifetime ahead of you. Thank you, everyone.